We are live and ready to go.
All right. Good morning, everyone. It's 10:32 and we are broadcasting across America and to all the ships at sea. The invocation will be done by Commissioner Curran, the pledge by Commissioner Meeks. If you wish to join, please rise.
Okay, Lord, we are meeting today to conduct matters of county business. Guide our hearts and our minds in the spirit of fairness, right thought, and speech. Bless this meeting with your divine intelligence and help us do right by all concerned. Please share a little of your wisdom with us so our affairs may reach a successful conclusion. Thank you for your guidance and your heavenly blessing over our meetings today. Amen.
Amen.
Don?
I pledge allegiance to
Allegiance
the
to the
flag
flag
of the United States
United States of America,
and to the republic
like
which is
stands
one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
for all. Amen.
Madam Clerk, will you please call the roll?
Bell,
Present via Zoom from the city of St. Joseph.
Curran,
Present via Zoom, Niles Township.
Freeling,
Present via Zoom, Baroda Township.
Harrison,
Present via Zoom from Lincoln Township.
Hinkleman,
Present, Waterloo.
Majerick,
Present via Zoom, City of Niles.
Meeks,
Present via Zoom, Ben Charter Township.
Scott,
Present via Zoom from Studio Z in New Buffalo Town.
Ballrat,
Present, zooming in from Coloma Township.
Werfel,
Present via Zoom, Royalton Township.
Yarborough,
Present via Zoom, the city of Benton Harbor.
Elliott.
Present in the boardroom.
Mr. Chair, you have 12 present.
Thank you. Any changes to the minutes from last week? If not, is there a motion to approve the minutes for May 20?
I'll make that motion, Michael Majerick.
I would like to second that motion, Mamie L. Yarborough.
Moved by Majerick, supported by Yarborough. Will the clerk please call the roll?
Curran, Curran?
He went inside.
No, he's not there right this second. So Freeling,
Cigarette.
Yes.
Harrison,
Yes.
Hinkleman,
Yes.
Majerick,
Yes.
Meeks,
Yes.
Scott,
Yes.
Ballrat,
Affirmative.
Werfel,
Yes.
Yarborough,
Yes.
Bell,
Yes.
Curran. Just walked out, hang on.
Here he is.
Curran, yeah, he said yes.
Yes.
Elliott,
Yes.
Mr. Chair, you have 12 yeas.
Thank you. That was a challenge. Communications.
I sent the board a newsletter from the Berrien County Health Department at your service, the May 2021 issue. That's all.
Thank you. 10:30 last night. We have committee reports. Bob, you want to lead off?
Sure. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Personnel and Human Services Committee met this morning. We've got two items on your agenda today. The first is a contract with Lakeland, Spectrum Lakeland, for the services of Dr. Kalbatika. He is going to serve as, we're proposing that he serve as the health officer, the medical director for the health department. This is a requirement of the state of Michigan, the public health code. with the retirement of Dr. Johansson. Our goal is that we get this up and running so that there can be a bit of an orientation with Dr. Johansson. We did interview 3 candidates for this position, and Doctor ended up being our top candidate. So that had representatives from the health board, from HR here at the county, and myself serving on that, as well as the health department. So that went very well. The second item is to authorize the chair to sign for the Michigan Association of Local Public Health a grant. We need his authorization to sign that. And we also did a couple other things, reviewed some job descriptions and for the road department, and you'll see those next week. We also approved advanced step hire for parks and the health department, and then also an advanced promotion step also for the health department. So we got quite a bit done. We did have 9 people watching us this morning, and one member of the public chose to comment on the road department issues. And that, I believe, committee members, anything I neglected?
All right. Mamie, did you have questions for PHS regarding the contract with Lakeland for the medical director service contract?
Yes, thank you very much. I'm a little unclear. I know Dr. Johansson, what he did, but the medical director, is that the coroner?
No, that's, if you remember, that was broken apart and we used
Okay.
Western Michigan University.
And that's why I didn't understand if Western was still the coroner and the medical director, you know, what was separate. Then I would like to know, what is Lakeland? I never heard of this Lakeland Water of Elite. It's not Spectrum Lakeland?
It is, you know, what Lakeland over time has evolved to a model where they employ physicians. And so that ends up with us, you know, being in a situation to contract with Spectrum Lakeland rather than individually with physicians. On the positive side, that contract then, the physician is an employee of Lakeland, not of the county. And so we don't have to pay benefit costs for retirement and health and the like.
Okay, that's why it just tangled me up. So I didn't know what the, you know, the levels were or who it was. Is this doctor, has he worked with us before, or?
He is not.
Lakeland system, or, you know, what?
He's based out of the Niles area. He does have a master's of public health and has done a great deal of work over in China, as well as he's very well qualified, having attended both Harvard and Yale, and so eminently qualified.
I thank you. I had no concern about that. I just wanted to know the structure, you know, of how things went and about that coroner, if he was all of those, or was Western Michigan still our coroner?
No, Western Michigan is still our medical examiner provider.
Okay, and as I looked at the resolution, there was a sentence that said LPW. Was it supposed to be LHW?
That I would have to defer to our keeper of the resolution and contract.
Yeah, you kind of need to look at it. I wanted to know, what is LPW? I'm wondering if it was just a. I'm sorry, I can't quite.
I think it's Lakeland.
Yep, she's right.
Okay. Well, thank you. Those are my questions. Thank you.
Commissioners, just as a quick follow-up to the discussion between Commissioner Harrison and Commissioner Yarborough, it was noted at today's PHS meeting that the contract is something that most of you won't have seen before. We are coming out of several decades of service by Dr. J. The contract that's being proposed has Lakeland providing this individual to come and work at our health department. And as a reminder, this isn't something that we're doing just because we want to. It is required by state law. So under the public health code, the county is required to have this position filled. We are moving this forward at today's board meeting so that we can catch Dr. J as he leaves the organization and that we don't have any gap in coverage. So the background on this is we went through a selection process that involved interviewing 3 different applicants. We had a broad panel put together where Commissioner Harrison's from PHS, Shelley Jasper, our HR director, and then staff from the health department and 1 local physician all assisted in the interview process. Those are my comments. I just wanted to jump in and provide some background.
Thank you very much.
Yep.
If there are no other questions for PHS, we'll go to admin.
Mr. Chair.
Jim?
Mr. Chair.
Yes.
Commissioner Scott, I have a question. This P2105235, it says to approve the contract with Lakeland Medical Director. And I understood Brian to say that the essence here, has our corporate counsel and everything signed off on this contract already?
Yes.
Yes, that's all been done. Protocol's been followed.
Thank you. Yeah, and I had that written down too between LPW and LHW. I figured that was a typo, so Mamie caught it also.
It was a quiz to see if you were actually reading.
Those people in finance, they really do focus.
That's why we have the most people attending our meetings. Thank you.
Oh my. Okay, Jim.
Thank you, Nick. Our administration committee met this morning at 9:15, and we have 1 resolution that's on the agenda for you today. It ends in 5232. It's road abandonment. It's in Lincoln Township. It's 245 feet of road. It is a cul-de-sac that dead ends down by the Lake Michigan. The residents petitioned the township, who petitioned the county road department to have that road abandoned. So the road department is going to maintain or keep the first 30 feet so that the snowplows are able to make a 3-point turn and turn around at that location. But the additional 215 feet from there to the lake will be abandoned and will be turned over to the all the adjoining property owners. So that is working its way through the process, and that's what that resolution is about. We have another resolution coming to you, not this meeting, but the next meeting, and it ends in 6239. And it is a contract with New Buffalo Township for office space for the Sheriff's Department. Currently, the Sheriff's Department and the tribal police are using a home that is over by the casino. And the home is in very poor condition, and they need to get out of that building. Well, New Buffalo Township is building a brand new facility, and they have built space into that building to accommodate the tribal police and the Sheriff's Department. And so this is an agreement for the first 10 years. The cost is $15,000 per year. And then after the 10-year period, it is $1,000 per year on a 99-year lease. And the $1,000 after the first 10 years is just for maintenance, snow plowing, lawn mowing, that type of thing, just to maintain the building. So you'll be seeing that at our next meeting. And if there are any questions about that, I'd be happy to answer them, because the sheriff was in this morning and explained it. We have all the documentation. So if there's any questions, be happy to answer any of those.
Mr. Chairman, Mamie Yarborough, may I ask a question?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, I'd like to know, Commissioner Curran, what lake is it that this land ends at?
Oh, Lake Michigan.
In Niles?
No, it's in Lincoln Township.
Oh, that's right, because it's your committee, it's not your city.
Right.
Okay, because I was trying to think the St. George Chapin Lake, what's there.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yep. No, it's up in Lincoln Township. It's not down here in Niles.
Okay.
Okay.
Thank you.
You bet. Any other questions?
Commissioner Scott, I have a question.
Yes, sir.
On, A210522, the road abandonment. Has the proper paperwork been done through the state of Michigan for the Public Act 51 road miles, if we're taking that road off of the county road?
I did not specifically ask Kevin of that, but I would imagine he said that all the paperwork is being is being processed now.
Thanks, Jim.
Okay, you're welcome. Okay, if there are no other questions, the board chair tasked the administration committee with looking into our meetings and the MDHHS rules and regulations as to what we can and cannot do. Dan Fetty put together a very detailed memo. He did an excellent job on researching this topic for us. And I'm going to turn this portion over to Brian and Dan to explain to the board exactly what they came up with so that we can comply with the current rules. So Brian and Dan, if you would, please.
Sure. So members of the board, Dan and I have spoken yesterday with the continuing COVID committee or the emergency operations committee. At that meeting, we discussed the county's ongoing COVID response plan as well as the ongoing state of emergency. We had that discussion continued today at the admin committee, and I think that there's general consensus on how we move forward. I'm going to pull up a document to share. I'll send a copy of this out to the full board. While I'm doing that, I'm going to have Dan walk you through the logic of what's being proposed. Go ahead, Dan.
Thank you. I prepared an email basically for Brian, Shelley, and some staff members looking at these recent orders that have been implemented. I think as recently as Monday. I apologize if there are any misspellings in that email. I think I tried to send it out as fast as possible. I'm sure I didn't edit it thoroughly. But the gist of it is that on Monday, both the DHHS and MIOSHA issued two new proposed orders. The DHHS order will go into effect June 1st. The MIOSHA order is in effect as we speak. Now, the DHHS order deals specifically with crowd gatherings or the size gatherings both inside and outside, as well as ongoing health requirements for wearing masks. Basically what it does is, starting June 1st, it eliminates any kind of limitation on outdoor gatherings, and it increases the limitation on indoor gatherings to the greater of 25 persons per room, or 50% of the room's maximum occupancy. In the case of this boardroom, we do it on a square footage basis, and I came down here and roughly measured it at about 880 square feet. And when you do the math, that means that at 50% occupancy, we'd be somewhere around 26 people that would be allowed in this room starting June 1st. Now, the mask orders are still in place, even though the occupancy has been increased. So unvaccinated individuals entering this boardroom would still have to wear a mask because we wouldn't have the appropriate size for everyone to socially distance, that is up to 6 feet. So unvaccinated individuals under this order still have to wear a mask if they're in this room. Vaccinated individuals, not necessarily. The concern we have in going back to live meetings is that when we add in the 12 commissioners, the permanent staff that attends these meetings, as well as rotating staff coming in and out, often 3, 4, 5 staff members per meeting, we will bump up against that 25 to 26 person limitation awfully quickly. And you can imagine we have 12 commissioners and say 6 staff members in here, we're at 18 already. If we have 10 to 15 members of the public lined up outside wanting to get into this room, well, someone's going to be excluded. We're going to have to make a determination of who gets in and who doesn't. Which means we will also have to continue to broadcast via Zoom in order to comply with the Open Meetings Act. In addition to that, members of the public coming into this room will have to demonstrate proof of vaccination if they want to be in here without their mask on. That'll require us to essentially examine vaccine cards, put up public notices, posters, signage, all of the things that we have to do right now as it relates to masks. We think this is going to be somewhat burdensome and could potentially lead to some conflicts with members of the public, or at least some dissatisfied members of the public starting June 1st if we were to allow live meetings in the room. Now, as it relates to the MIOSHA order, that deals with employee safety and our responsibilities of providing a safe work environment for employees that minimizes or mitigates the risk of exposure to COVID. And the basic change under this order is that it says that employees who are fully vaccinated and can demonstrate so are no longer required to wear masks while in the building. Now, that is at the discretion of the employer. It's not necessarily a right. It's the employer's discretion to make that determination. In the case of Berrien County, we have employees that right now are under that new MIOSHA order. We also have employees in the courts that are under continuing scale orders, which are different. Scale orders currently say all masks for all employees. And if you think about the situation just in our courthouse, which is a combination of general county employees under the MIOSHA rules and court employees under the scale rules, if we were to implement a rule right now saying vaccinated individuals wouldn't have to wear masks, we'd be creating 2 different classes of employees, particularly in the courthouse. In addition to that, we have a responsibility of examining, or at least of making a good faith effort and a due diligent effort to show that individuals who are refusing to wear masks actually are fully vaccinated. And that could entail examining their vaccination cards, as I said before. It would entail putting up new signage all throughout the building, public notices to all employees. This would create new burdens on the administrator, department heads, and administrative staff to try to comply with this if we were to alter our COVID response plan to allow for these new rules. As I said, it's discretionary, we don't have to. Now, we all know that by July 1st, the governor has indicated that all of these COVID-related orders are going to be rescinded. So we would be going through a process of trying to create a hybrid system of public meeting and a hybrid system of employment that delineates between vaccinated and non-vaccinated employees and members of the public for a period that will last 3 to 4 weeks maximum. Our recommendation, therefore, is that we don't change our COVID response plan, that we continue to require all employees who are not socially distant to wear masks, and we continue to hold all public meetings remotely between now and July 1st when these orders expire. Our local state of emergency will expire contemporaneous with that on June 30th, and on July 1st we can be back to normal, business as usual, meeting in person with employees who feel safe that they don't have to wear their masks anymore. That's our recommendation. It would be less burdensome and less onerous to staff, and will lead to less conflicts, we think, between employees and between members of the public entering these facilities.
Thanks for that report, Dan. Appreciate that. Are there any questions for Dan?
Yes, Dan, Commissioner Scott, I have a question. Is there a plan B after July 1st for the courts? Because just because the governor has released that does not mean that the courts in the state of Michigan, Supreme Court or whatever, they can kind of do their own thing like that. So how are we going to deal with the employees if the courts don't lift the restrictions?
Well, it'll be a tricky situation, obviously. Commissioner, I think what we'll do between now and July is start rewriting the plan under the assumption that general county employees won't be required to wear masks, but we'll also, in that regard, have to put up signage all throughout our buildings explaining that members of the public and general county employees are exempt from these rules at this point. If we wanted to, we could continue to place mask orders on employees working in specific facilities, but it's going to be tricky when we have general employees commingled with court employees operating under two different systems. I mean, I don't think there's a good answer there, other than there will be a difference of standard.
Well,
And just as a follow-up to that statement, as I mentioned in the EOC call, those standards are already being questioned. Between myself and Shelley, we've had multiple members of the staff asking for what are the latest rules, and further asking why are there different rules in place. So the approach that Dan has laid out is the cleanest way to ensure that the county does not accept additional liability and most closely aligns our various properties under a very similar standard. I think this makes sense. The other thing that was discussed actively today at the admin meeting was the ongoing state of emergency. And the admin committee had a very good discussion about the plan to keep the COVID response plan in place through the end of the month of June. I then asked that if we are going to agree on that being a reopening plan, then I think it would be wise to spend the next 4 weeks communicating to every local unit of government that with the return to normal slated for July 1, we need to be pushing to the local units of government that they also need to be planning to return to normal for their public meetings, because it would make sense that we allow the localized state of emergency to expire June 30, and that every city, every township, every school district will need to have their plans in place to allow for in-person meetings starting July 1. I am concerned that if we don't push this out on a weekly basis for the next 4 weeks, we are going to likely have some local unit that's scrambling to figure out how they're going to run their meetings. Everybody's been getting used to Zoom over the past year, and there may be some local units that aren't real thrilled about going back to in-person. So my hope was, if the board is comfortable with what's been discussed, that at your next meeting we would have a resolution which memorializes what's been discussed here, which is to allow the response plan to run through July 1, and then to, as a secondary step, to allow the state of emergency to expire June 30th.
All right,
Mac?
go ahead. Yeah, go ahead.
Mac, what are your thoughts on on what I said, whether or not the courts could or could not come off of this on July 1st?
They're a independent branch of government, and as to court employees anyway, they get to call their own shots, unless we had truly extraordinary circumstances present where we would invoke emergency powers across the full spectrum. We're not doing that, so they get to make their own decisions. I just have a feeling things will percolate through over the next 4 or 5 weeks, and everybody will pretty much be doing the same things. That's my sense right now, anyway.
All right, thanks. I just thought of that because, the courts are on their own deal, and that would put a oddity if we had employees that were allowed to have no masks and no nothing, but then because of the place they work, they have.
Well, yeah, they'd be in the same building too, because not everyone in that courthouse is a court employee.
That's correct. That was my concern. Okay, thank you.
Yeah. Jim?
Okay, good
May
discussion.
I ask something?
Yes, ma'am.
It comes to me that our EOC meeting, or that's when we get messages and all, from the state and federal. And I'm glad Memorial Day is coming. I think that'll give us a good barometer to look at for how are things going. I have no problem wearing a mask. So July 1, it could well be, if the numbers are up, that we will continue the mask thing. We will listen to those, what's going on. Mr. Chairman,
Yes, ma'am?
oh, could you hear me?
No.
I'm not muted. I wanted to know what will we do if the number goes up? Will be determined by the state announcement. They'll tell us what to do. I'm saying for July 1.
Yeah, I reckon so. And that's always a possibility, but the trend lines are looking better when you string each week together. And as you know from our briefing yesterday, unless there's some strain out there that just sort of drops in on us, I would think we're going to be in a substantially different position as we head into the 4th of July than we are heading into Memorial Day.
Yeah.
And different meaning better meaning back closer to normal.
Thank you.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, good discussion. And I think Brian is going to prepare a resolution for us for the next meeting. Okay, next item we had was a strategic planning discussion. Brian would like to contract that service out to Jim Hettinger. The last time we had a strategic planning session was in 2017, and that was in-house. This would be led by Jim Hettinger, and we haven't done that since, I guess, Mike Henry days. So it's been a while, and it sounds like it's needed. And so Brian brought us that proposal, and we agreed with it, and he's moving forward. Any questions on that? Okay. Yes.
Go ahead, sir. I was just going to say that it'll go next week to finance. Finance will be asked to endorse the contract. Then it moves to the full board. At that time, Jim will be off and running. The intent is to have him meet with each of the 12 commissioners with a variety of staff. And then, as noted to admin, he's been just essentially doing some legwork over the last couple of months, starting in South County and just slowly working his way north. So, assuming the board is desirous of moving forward with that contract, you'll be spending some time with Jim.
Okay, and Brian, if I recall correctly, finance is going to look at the contract?
Yeah, so the last time we did this, so it was actually run through community development. Finance reporting to community development seemed to be the best way to do it. I'm not saying there is a right or a wrong way, but in looking at the way this has been done before, that was the parent committee. And so what I was trying to do is just notify admin so that it could be brought up for the full board, and formal action set to occur next week.
Okay, thank you very much for that.
Yeah, no problem.
Okay, and then the last item we had is a discussion on the sheriff funds distribution coming through the Berrien Community Foundation. I know it's been discussed with finance before. I think Brian is going to take our discussion from today back to finance to see if we can get that wrinkle worked out on where it's a donation, and it's a donation for a specific item, that it doesn't have to go through the bidding and waiver and all that other processes if it's specific like that. So that'll be going back to finance. You guys will have that discussion. And that is our report, Mr. Chairman.
Okay. Anyone have any Anything else for fun, or for admin, questions, comments, concerns? If not,
Mr. Chair, Commissioner Scott, I have one question that I'm not sure if we should take care of before we move forward. But Resolution F2105118 is the road payables. Usually, I say usually, Finance has a meeting and we have a consensus to move that forward to the full board. That was not done for this. So do we need to have consensus from Finance to move that forward to be in the consent calendar today?
pardon me.
There's actually the bills as well. That's another one that usually would go to finance.
Mamie, what's your pleasure?
Yes, consensus. I agree that we should pay the bills. Committee?
Since we're in the middle of the stream right now, the Finance Committee can give us a consensus if the Finance Committee wishes to proceed to pay those road payables and the other items on several pages there in front of you on your agenda, or not. What's the pleasure of the Finance Committee, Madam Chair?
They have signaled, we have a signal. They have signaled to me that they agree, the consensus is that we should pay the bills today. They'd like that to happen. Thank you.
All right. John, you concur?
Yes.
All right. Well, the chair and vice chair of the committee are on board. Ezra, Terry, are you okay as well?
I'm okay as well, too. I just wanted to make sure that we had a point of order that if that's what we do, then that's what we should always do, one way or the other.
We don't really have a motion, we just do it by consensus.
Okay.
This is the same way we do
Which
it.
resolution are we talking?
2F resolutions.
F2105.
5032 and 5118 from Finance. All right. Based on that, then, it would be appropriate to proceed with the consent calendar. Prior to doing so, however, we will pause to see if there are any comments from the general public. And at this point, those comments are limited to resolutions that are on the agenda.
Okay, no public comments regarding resolutions.
All right. Is there a motion to approve the consent calendar?
So moved, Mr. Chair.
Moved by Scott. Is there support?
This is Commissioner Harrison. I'll support the motion.
All right. So it's moved by Scott, supported by Harrison. Any discussion? Hearing none, will the clerk please call the roll?
Freeling.
Yes.
Harrison.
Yes.
Hinkleman.
Yes.
Majerick.
Yes.
Meeks.
Yes.
Scott.
Yes.
Walrat.
Yes.
Werfel.
Yes.
Yarborough.
Yes.
Bell.
Yes.
Curran.
Yes.
Elliott.
Yes.
Mr. Chair, you have 12 yeas.
Thank you. We had no added resolutions, so we're now on page 2, Commissioner reports. And if no one has anything this week, then we'll go to the administrator to see if he has anything in advance of his weekly report that we receive via email.
Yeah, so to the commissioners, I'm going to pull up a quick screen share. And this is just a reminder about an event that will occur tomorrow. So 1 second. This is taking a little bit longer than normal. Here we go. So to the commissioners, just a reminder that we're nearing completion of the Red Arrow Highway construction at Union Pier. So at 10 o'clock tomorrow, there will be a brief ribbon cutting for any members of the board that are desirous of attending. Please let me or Annette know, and this will occur tomorrow. To the attendees, I'm double booked, so I'll actually be sitting in the board conference room dealing with a contract dispute, so I will not be able to attend. We do have staff from the road department who will be on hand, and I believe Annette has agreed to grace you all with her presence. And Mr. Chair, those are my comments.
All right.
Administrator.
Anybody planning to go? Yes, Ezra?
I will be there.
Okay, good.
There also.
And I plan to attend, and I know where it is.
All right. All right.
Bring your umbrella.
You see that sign that says "Welcome to Indiana"? Turn around. That's a joke from some years ago for some of our newer board members. Okay, general public comments now.
I'm checking.
Do you want to keep the EOC on a weekly basis?
For now.
Okay. Through the month of June
At least.
Okay.
Yeah, maybe even July.
Okay.
Just to see what's happening. I'd rather be up to speed.
Yeah. Okay.
I don't believe you have any public comments. You have people watching, but.
Okay. All right then, anyone have any other business? Announcements and reminders. As of now, we will be here next Thursday doing it the way we did it today. Brian will advise us to committee meetings. Right now, I don't see anything scheduled, but I'm guessing there will be.
Yeah.
And did you have anything else?
Yeah, just for next week, we do have a little bit of musical chairs going. So the board conference room will be receiving some IT upgrades. So we're asking you to come here. We'll find you space to help run the meeting. Annette and I will likely be in our little corners. The admin committee is going to come in to physically attend. As soon as the board wraps, we're then going to go over and take a look at the newly renovated front of the court.
Oh. Okay.
So a little bit of musical chairs next week. Plan on the normal Zoom meeting, but for 4 of you, we'll have you at the building. We'll just be figuring out how to make that space all work.
And the chair.
And the chair.
And I'll bring my Surface Pro finally so they can do the upgrade they've wanted to do since last fall, I think, or something like that. I use it a lot. So.
Mac?
Okay. Yes.
On that note, I have a question also. I called Kip yesterday, Wednesday, when I went to the COVID meeting, when I turned my laptop on. I don't know if anybody else is getting this, but it said my Windows service agreement or something is expiring, or license is expiring. So I haven't heard anything, but I didn't know whether anyone else ran into that same issue, or is there just mine?
So we're checking on that for you. I think that occasionally the units have to come into the building, and then we can do the downloads. But we'll check and we'll get that answer for you.
Thank you.
I was wondering the same thing when my key fob doesn't work. You trying to tell me
There's a
something?
little message there for you. If your key fobs are not working, someone's trying to tell you something. So.
May I ask a question?
Yes, ma'am.
Finance committee meeting next week?
Yes. Yep. So finance will return to its weekly meeting.
We just don't know the time yet, because we don't know exactly what the agenda is gonna be. So.
Yep. So as between myself and Annette, as we're working on the agenda, we have to figure out if we're gonna have PHSC. If we are, that will be at 8, then finance will either be at 9 or 9:30. We'll get you updated as soon as we've got a handle on what's coming for next week.
Okay, that'll be fine. Thank you.
Yep.
Anyone have anything else? If not, have a safe and enjoyable Memorial Day weekend and thank as many veterans as you run into. See you next week.